What's up, Amazon sellers? Welcome back to the weekly show where we share some news, answer your questions, talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's the weekly news and Q&A show live. I am your solo host, Chris Rasick. Chris Grant is deservedly doting on his wife and the mother of his children right now, as I'm sure most of the people that would normally be tuning in are. If you're here, I appreciate it. We celebrated, did a combo birthday, Mother's Day thing yesterday. So that opened up my afternoon to run a solo show. So we're doing it. I don't expect there's going to be a whole lot of us here, which is understandable. And I don't blame you. Hopefully you guys have better things to do. But if you don't, if you have questions, please fire them off in the chat. I will do my best to answer them. And I was able to pull some news. I kind of looked around, and I checked the feeds and see what was going on, see what was relevant for Amazon sellers. So I pulled some of that out. Sundays, we always do a razor or a law. And I have one that I pulled. It was actually from an email that I received. I'll tell you about that when we get to it later. It's an email that you should be subscribed to too. It's a really interesting one, but like I said, more on that later. So for those of you who are new here, my job is to try and make your life easier as a seller. Whether you've got questions about flipping clearance, pulling the trigger on OA or wholesale, I'll do my best to help you. We answer your questions 2 times a week. We answer questions about Keepa. Like I said, we share some news, some crazy Amazon stories, and we'll take every single question that you got. So, however, first, before we get into the news, we always do an ad spot at the top of the show. And the ad spot is for today's show. It's a special one. It's one you haven't heard before. And here's the deal. If you've heard us talking about it, if you've heard this term, this name going around, you've probably gotten emails. If you get emails from me, I've talked about it a couple times. If you get emails from Chris Grant, he's talked about it. And then there's a couple different people, Saul at the Buy Box, Reezy, a bunch of people are talking about it. So if you've heard the term, you've probably been telling yourself, well, maybe, let me think about it, right? But here's what happens next. You're going to wait. You're going to kick it around. You're not going to realize the clock is ticking. And all of a sudden, the Walmart challenge is going to be closed. The challenge will be full. Registration will be closed. Your shot will be gone. And you'll be left thinking, oh, I should have been there. Right? But let me tell you what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. As the Walmart challenge starts tomorrow, what these people are going to be learning. And once they put these practices into place, here's what you're going to see in the next few weeks. You'll start seeing the posts, right? You'll see screenshots of their first sales on Walmart. You'll see testimonials on Instagram, Facebook, and X about how awesome the Walmart challenge was. You'll see sellers celebrating because the Walmart challenge cracked the code for them. And then you'll think, shucks, that really should have been me too. And then what you're going to see in a couple months, you're going to start seeing copycat courses start popping up. Gurus are going to start teaching Walmart. They're going to be experts all of a sudden on Walmart. But of course, like I said in my email earlier, like an old VHS tape, a copy of a copy of a copy just continually loses quality. Suddenly, even more people are going to be talking about selling on Walmart, and you're going to see a bunch of gurus going to be acting like they invented courses on Walmart. And then a couple months after that, Q4 is going to hit, right? And then the people who took the Walmart challenge are going to be crushing it, right? They're going to be doubling up on Amazon and Walmart, stacking their sales both at the same time. And again, you're going to think, dang, that would have been me. So, and then fast forward to a year, what are you going to see, right? We'll be interviewing 6- and 7-figure Walmart sellers on the Clear the Shelf podcast. They'll say they started with the Walmart challenge. They'll be building tools for Walmart and bringing those onto the market. They'll be launching businesses and they'll sell these tools to other Walmart sellers. And they'll enjoy even more income streams, right? And you're going to wonder, man, that shoulda, woulda, coulda been me. But here's the deal. For a few more hours, it can be you, right? You can decide to take action. You can avoid the regret, the FOMO that you're about to see, because the doors are still open until midnight tonight to get in on the Walmart challenge. I believe it should be, if I did it correctly, it should be in the notes or in the show notes below this, depending on where you're watching. I will, for the sake of convenience, I will add a link. There's a link to get in on the Walmart challenge, right? Again, midnight tonight. That's it. Course starts tomorrow. You're going to learn everything you need to know about selling on Walmart. You're going to be able to diversify. You're going to be able to mitigate your risk, platform risk, suspension risk, brand gating risk, right? Because you're going to have an extra outlet. You're going to diversify your income. So if you have questions about the Walmart challenge too, I'll take those as well. I don't know how much I can help you with that, but you click that link and look through all the information, everything that they offer. It's a 5-day course. They're going live a couple hours a day. It's the challenge style, right? And that we all know and love, and it's the same people. It's Chris Grant, Nate McAllister, right? The challenge people teamed up with Sarah Ray. Nate and Chris, they did the OA challenge, right? And the OA challenge is the reason that there's a show. It's the reason that there's 85 episodes of the Clear the Shelf podcast. It's the reason I have a lead list. If you're one of the ones that subscribe and have made some profit off of that, that all stems from the OA challenge. So just to kind of give you a little bit of background on how potent the OA challenge branded courses are. I'm a big fan. If you guys have been around, I make no secret about it. So, and just to hammer the point home, I have a graphic for you, right? So check this out real quick. All right. So look at this. Just to kind of display the difference in competition, right? Now, each one of those blocks represents 50,000 sellers. And the yellow blocks, 1.1 million third-party sellers. That's the amount of sellers that are on Amazon currently, the U.S. marketplace. The blue boxes are Walmart third-party sellers. There's only 150,000, right? So that's to display the competition, right? Right now, Amazon's jam-packed. They're ticking a lot of people off with changes. People don't take change easily. But Walmart is wide open, and they are rolling out the red carpet for sellers. So this is the type of market. This is the amount that you can reduce your competition. Now, why does that matter? Because of this. This is a chart. This chart represents the growth that Walmart.com, the e-commerce segment, has seen. And basically, the numbers aren't exact. It only starts with a base of 100 all the way to the left. But they've experienced double-digit growth every quarter for 11 straight quarters, right? It's still dwarfed by Amazon. I understand that. I'm not saying it's not. However, it's growing at a very rapid pace with minimal competition. So that's how important this can be for you. You can be literally on the ground floor and all those cliches. That's what you're looking at right now. So midnight tonight, doors closed. That's the one shot you got to get it on this course. So let's cover some news. I was able to pull. Oh, you got Mahad's got a question. Walmart doesn't approve an account on a new LLC, even with a website. What do you do with this situation? I would. So that's supposed to be. Or do you have to? I think maybe if you have to have a seasoned LLC, it may just be too young of an account. Again, I'm not sure. I'm actually attending the Walmart challenge because I need to know more about it myself too. So I'm not sure. I know there are reps that sellers can get. There are cases that can be open on Walmart. I would explore either of those or possibly both of those options if you're having trouble getting approved. So what's in the news? Let's check that out first. Rite Aid files bankruptcy. one of the largest U.S. pharmacy chains that you probably heard of, has filed bankruptcy for the second time in less than 2 years. And basically, they're 8 months out of the end of their Chapter 11, and they've filed bankruptcy again. They cited a collapse in retail operations, ongoing debt, and shifting consumer habits. The company's latest Chapter 11 filing comes after a failed turnaround following its 2023 bankruptcy, which had already, and they already closed as a result of the first one in 2023. They closed hundreds of stores, and that eliminated $2 billion in debt. And just shortly afterwards, they're still in trouble with a new Chapter 11. This time, Rite Aid blames its front of store business, the selling of the household goods and essentials. That's what they're blaming for the downfall. As more customers found better prices elsewhere, almost everywhere, as far as regular Rite Aid prices. Vendors tightened their supply chains, they said. Rite Aid shelves became emptier, leading to a vicious cycle of declining sales and worsening liquidity. The company also failed to secure promised financing. That sounds like a big one, leaving it unable to restock or invest in store improvements. Despite efforts to reposition itself, Rite Aid's massive debt, which still, even after the first go-round, is $2.2 billion, it's proven insurmountable. Interest payments are crippling, and the company is forced to borrow just to keep operations afloat. Situation was made worse by ongoing opioid litigation and shrinking pharmacy margins, challenges facing the entire drugstore sector as a whole, right? Because Amazon and Walmart have come onto the scene and are offering low cost and taking some of that market share away from them. What does this mean for Amazon sellers? The Rite Aid collapse highlights the accelerating shift of consumer spending from traditional brick and mortar retailers to e-commerce platforms. It also underscores the importance of price competitiveness, reliable supply chains, and risk faced by legacy retailers burdened with debt. Means being flexible, the arbitrage model and the flexibility that we have as arbitrage sellers. We really kind of take for granted our ability to pivot. The Rite Aid's bankruptcy, it's a cautionary tale for retail, really. And the opportunity for Amazon sellers is clear. Customers continue to move online. So we are in an expanding industry. We are in expanding markets in Amazon and Walmart. So if you're get your operations up to snuff, and you can ride that wave. So just further proof, there's more and more over and over again of the shift to online sales. What else is in the news? Did you guys hear about Amazon Pet Day? There's not much we can do about it now, but Amazon Pet Day is happening on May 13th and 14th. The sales pitch that Amazon gives is they are offering great deals on pet health, grooming, food, toys, and more. They say shoppers can find discounts on top brands and essential items to pamper their pets. Prime members also enjoy, of course, fast shipping and some exclusive savings during the event. Again, I don't know if anybody planned for this. I hadn't heard about it. I don't do enough volume in the pet category. I like the pet category. I like selling pet supplies in general. But just something to keep in mind, that category will see some extra eyeballs since it's Pet Day, since they're labeling this as an official sale. So if you have any existing inventory, keep that in mind. Maybe double check your repricers, and you might see a little bit of a boost. All right. So another piece of news, again, before I get to that, remember, if you have any questions, comments, anything going on, anything you want to talk about, feel free to pop it in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. So the other one, this was kind of interesting. Kind of depends. It's going to depend on execution, but it has to do with eBay. eBay has just unveiled a new AI-powered shopping agent. That marks a major shift, according to them, in how buyers discover products on its marketplace. The AI agent, it's currently available to a small group of U.S. users, but it delivers real-time, hyper-personalized product recommendations and expert guidance, adapting to each shopper's preferences as they browse. Unlike the older chatbots, eBay's latest AI is conversational and interactive. It's designed to anticipate and respond to user needs at any stage of the buying journey, either through direct requests or predictive prompts right on page. eBay says the move leverages nearly 30 years of customer insights and its vast infrastructure. It aims to streamline shopping and boost marketplace growth. The company emphasizes that all AI features are developed with a focus on safety, fairness, and transparency, yada, yada, working closely with its responsible AI team. The rollout will expand to more users over time, and it's positioning eBay at the forefront, according to them, of AI-driven, personalized e-commerce experiences. This is all going to depend on execution, right? I love it in theory. This is great. I use eBay until I get running on Walmart. eBay is my primary spillover spot. That's my death pile goes there. Anything I have to pull back from Amazon, my first choice is eBay. So any improvements that they make to increase sales on the marketplace, obviously, is going to benefit me as I try to get some capital back from bad buys and whatnot. However, I know there are a lot of sellers out there that source directly for eBay. A lot of discontinued items actually have higher margins over on eBay. So it's definitely a marketplace that I keep it primed. I keep it going because it's helpful in my last mile liquidation, for lack of a better term. So, all right. So, and then the last thing, on Sundays, we always provide or share a law, a rule, or a razor. All right. And today's rule, I guess, I'm not sure what classification it is, but I actually read this from Sean Puri of My First Million. He has a couple different email newsletters that he sends out, and he recently started something that he calls the 1 minute blog. And it's just obviously a quick, it takes a minute to read or less. And the one that he sent out, I think it was yesterday, maybe it was Friday. He talked about the taste gap. And I thought it was really interesting. It was a concept that I wasn't familiar with. And I want to share it with you because I think it might be helpful for you too. It starts with a story. Here's a story that Sean told in his email. He said in the 1970s, there was a janitor working at a high school in Maine. One day while cleaning the locker room, he got an idea for a book. The janitor went home excited that night and wrote the first 3 pages. He read them over and he hated it, right? He actually crumpled it up and he threw it in the trash. That's how much he disliked it. Later that night, his wife found the crumpled balls of paper while she was emptying the trash. She read the beginning of the book and she loved it, right? She got curious about what happened next after those few pages that she read. And she actually begged her husband to finish it. So as it goes, happy wife, happy life, as the husband knows, he decided to finish the book for his wife. That trash book that she read turned out to be a book called Carrie, and the janitor was Stephen King. Stephen King and Carrie ended up selling, what was it, 4 million copies, at least hundreds of thousands of copies, if not millions of copies, and obviously launched what anyone would agree as a very successful writing career for Stephen King. So this is to display the taste gap, right? Which is why he told this story, and that's the really interesting part. He used a quote from Ira Glass to help explain it. Ira Glass explains it as, all of us who do creative work, we get into it because we have good taste, but there's a gap. For the first couple of years, you make stuff, and it's just not that good. It's trying to be good. It has potential, but it's not. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, is still killer, right? And your taste is why your work disappoints you, right? So we all start with the ability to recognize greatness. We know what we like because we have taste, but our ability to create that greatness lags way behind, right? And that's the end of the quote from Ira Glass. So I thought this was a great concept, right? So we make something, we look at it, and we think, oh, this sucks, right? But the taste gap, it actually isn't a sign of failing. It's not a sign that we aren't good at what we're doing. it's a sign that we're on the right track, right? So that was such a cool concept because I think everything I write sucks. Even though I get compliments every once in a while, and some people say I'm a little bit good at it at least. But the problem is, I know your taste is up here, but your skill is right here. Sucks is way down here. Actual sucking is way down here. But it's not meeting the standard of what our own personal taste is, and we don't recognize that gap because we don't have the reps in. So whether you're writing, I know some of you out there, are dabbling in content creation. If you're trying to build an email list, if you're trying to start a newsletter, and even this even applies to our Amazon businesses as well. You can look at your own. You see people. You'll listen to our interview with Jeff Storch. He does $25 million a year. Or you'll listen to one of our 2 interviews with Steve French, and he's doing 4 million or so, 3-4 million, mostly RA. And you'll think, wow, that's the kind of store that I want. And then you look at your own store and you'll think, well, I suck. I'm not there yet, but it's only because you haven't reached that skill level. You know what greatness looks like, but you're just simply being too hard on yourself. And that's because of the taste gap. So I thought that was a pretty cool nugget. And again, that was Sean Puri, his 1-minute blog. If you don't subscribe to that, you should look it up. He also does a 5-tweet Tuesday, I think, where he kind of pulls some news and notes. It's business related and a couple laughs. If you're familiar with My First Million, you know that it's good stuff. So check that out if you're interested in it. So that's all I got as far as news and the law of the week. So I will turn it over to you, any listeners, any viewers. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments. I will remind you once again that the Walmart challenge, if you're interested, if you've been mulling it over, that closes midnight tonight, and it starts tomorrow. So if you're even considering, you get access to the materials forever. So even if you're not ready to start while it starts, starting tomorrow, you can still learn about it, get all the information that you need, hang on to it, and go back to it when you do decide to pull the trigger. You get support for a year, 7-day guarantee, even though it's a 5-day course, which feels like a couple extra days. It feels like you could actually take it and still get your money back. So, but he does it because so few people ever request their money back. So, all right. So let me know what you got. If you have any questions, any comments, tell me who you think we should interview on the podcast coming up, or any topics that you want to see on the podcast. If you're a listener, let me know. Let me know anything that's on your mind. We'll go. I'll go as long as you want to. I don't. I should have gotten a joke ready. That's the one thing that I can scrape together enough of a show to actually go live when Chris isn't around. But it's the one thing that I fail to do is actually get a dad joke ready. So if you're waiting, if you're hanging on for that, I'm sorry to disappoint you. So, all right, last call for any questions, comments. It could be about anything. All right, guys. Well, I know we got at least a little over 100 people that tuned in. I appreciate that on a Mother's Day. And if you are a mother, you're tuning in. Thank you for taking some of your special day to share it with me on the show. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I hope you have a great day. I hope you're being doted on and spoiled. Charlie, what's up, Charlie? Does Walmart have next day shipping? I don't know if I don't think they're quite that tight on their delivery window. But here's the thing. I do know that Walmart is working on it. We know that Walmart sees what Amazon has done. They obviously recognize that Walmart, or that Amazon's window of delivery. A lot of the success that Amazon has seen, a lot of their dominance as in online marketplaces, due to the fact that they have they completely changed the game, right? If you remember, before Amazon became what they are right now, and before they jumped on the scene, ordering online was a multi-day. It was like a week and a half process. It used to take 7 to 10 days to receive a package if you ordered it online. So we're spoiled now because of Amazon, and certainly Walmart knows that is the benchmark. So they are actively, they actually have more fulfillment centers than Amazon does. And then you couple that with the fact of how many stores they have, and you certainly know that they'll be available to dispatch packages from stores if they wanted to. So the bones are there. The infrastructure is there to seriously compete with Amazon's speed. So if it's not quite there right now, which I don't think it is, they have the ability to do so. So I agree, Charlie. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, you're not gonna. It's a tough sell to wait longer for a package, even if it is Walmart. And we know Walmart doesn't have all the bells and whistles surrounding their Walmart Plus. It's kind of like a B tier compared to what Amazon offers. You look at Prime Video from Amazon versus Paramount Plus from Walmart. Yeah, and then the benefits as well. I think Amazon Prime, was it Grubhub? They just throw so many perks in there, and that's something Walmart just isn't quite matching yet. So, Ed, if I'm saying that correctly, what do you think about starting selling on Walmart? Is there real profit to be made? Absolutely. There's absolutely profit to be made. The thing is now that what you can take advantage of with Walmart right now, and if you're on social media, chances are you're seeing a segment of e-commerce sellers raving about Walmart. Walmart is rolling out the red carpet for third-party sellers. The timing is terrific. They have that going for them because a lot of people are frustrated with Amazon. Increasing fees and changes, and there's a lot of people are taking the changes on Amazon personally, and they're getting frustrated over and over. Margins are shrinking. Where on the flip side, Walmart they have lower fees. They've got unsustainable, in my opinion, discounts on shipping. So it's cheaper to ship, it's cheaper to sell. There's far less competition. If you weren't around, I will show you this graphic again. I made this to display the competition, right? The yellow boxes are Amazon. There are 1.1 million sellers on the U.S. marketplace. Walmart has 150,000 third-party sellers on Walmart.com. So a seventh, you can reduce your competition by a seventh currently on Walmart. Couple that with lower fees, lower shipping, and better customer service, better seller support. They're trying to get everybody they can, and that's going to change, right? I'm not trying to sell you a long-term better experience on Walmart, because as soon as Walmart gets to the size that they want, or has a couple of bad quarters and needs to cut costs, they're going to make changes, and those are going to be interpreted as things going south and Walmart doesn't love its third-party sellers. It's going to be all the same comments that you're going to see. They're just going to substitute Amazon for the word Walmart when that happens. But that's not the current environment, right? The current environment is still positive. It's still a good experience because Walmart is putting resources towards making it that way. So that's what can be taken advantage of right now. And you have different sets of gatings, right? I know Luke isn't here today, but he's a regular viewer. He started on Walmart, and it's only been a short period of time, and he's liquidated like $2,000 worth of inventory that he bought for Amazon. Got surprise gated somewhere along the process in between from the point where he bought the inventory to when he actually tried to send it in. This weird thing that the regatings that you may have heard about on Amazon. And he's liquidated $2,000 on Walmart already, just from his death pile. That's not even, we're not even going into the realm of sourcing inventory. That's not even a scenario where I'll buy 30 for Amazon, 20 for Walmart. He's not even doing that. He's just getting rid of stuff on hand. So it's a great opportunity right now, to be honest with you. Charlie, do you have next day delivery by 1 p.m. in the U.S.? In certain areas, yeah. I assume you're talking about Amazon. Yeah, depending on your position where you are in the country, in what particular part of the U.S. you're in. Yeah, there's even same day delivery in the larger metropolitan areas. So, yeah, it's stiff turnaround times that Walmart's going to compete with. So, Chris Grant popped in. Thanks for hopping in, buddy. Noah shared some numbers the other day, and I think he's doing like 20% margins or something. Yeah. So, yeah, the reduced fees. Yeah, you're going to see higher profit margins. Because Walmart doesn't have a lot of the costs baked in right now. Again, subject to change, but right now there's a bigger profit margin to be had on Walmart. It's not to say it's not without its challenges, right? However, it is very clearly an opportunity right now. So, is it necessary to have an LLC to sell on Walmart? Yes. No, you can't go in there as without some sort of corporate structure. Whether that be even just a sole member LLC. It does have to be an official corporate structure of some sort. That is one of the obstacles to get on there. So, and I think if I remember correctly, didn't Amazon, haven't they halted drone delivery? I know they're going hot and heavy on that. They were testing it like in Phoenix area. And I think I remember them saying that they actually stopped that, but I don't think they'll give up on it. I don't think Amazon will ever give up on until they can actually have like the old bank drive-through vacuum tubes to where you can just press a button and you just hear the vacuum tube fire up and your product just kind of shoots out of a tube in your room or something like that. I don't think they're going to stop until they can get Jetson style instant delivery. So. All right. So still taking questions. I'm in no hurry. If you guys want to talk about something. Walmart challenge. If you're tuning in late, I know there were only about half as many people tuning in when I first started the show. The Walmart challenge ends. It closes at midnight tonight. This is your last chance. This regret starts at 12:01 tonight if you don't take action. Check the show notes if you're interested. Pop it in. Money back guarantee. But you're not going to need it because it's an OA challenge branded course. So it's going to be good. If Chris Grant's putting it on, that's synonymous with over delivering. So I'm really excited to get started. Sarah knows her stuff. A lot of people are just kind of learning about this, right? And we're just getting the basic questions. the instructor, Sarah Ray, she's been selling since 2021 on Walmart. So there's some serious experience. We've interviewed her on the podcast. If you're not familiar with who that is, you can go back and listen to her episode. Seems like everything, if she gets an idea to try something, she pretty much starts it and kicks ass. She seems to do everything well. So I am really looking forward to this. Chris says they just expanded in North Texas. That's probably drone delivery, I assume. That's good. There's I've driven cross country a couple times when I was younger, and the one route that we ended up going through the little top hat of Texas. So we weren't there very long, and it was like 100% cows. It was unbelievable how many cows there were in Texas. So I would imagine drone delivery to cover the amount of cow expanse to get the package to the customers would be clutch in Texas. That's a real big state. So yeah, and I'm trying to start selling on Walmart. Should I go with wholesale or OA? It's basically the same system as Amazon. All right. So I don't know that we can decide this right now. Because if you're just starting, and you have the question about what corporate structure you should have, right? So this is the very beginning, as it is for a lot of people, right? Because this is only now becoming. This is, as far as I know, this is one of the first courses on Walmart. So we're at the very early stages. So to answer that question, you're going to have to figure out your method of sourcing for Walmart. It is not exactly the same as Amazon. It is, obviously far younger than Amazon, which means there's a smaller set of tools available to you. There are some tools, but there's not the extent of the tools that Amazon has. There are people that are selling on Amazon going on, 15, 20 years, are pushing almost 20 years now, the older sellers. So we've had quite a head start on the Amazon side as far as tools that make sourcing easier. So, the big question is going to be, what are you able to source that's profitable on Walmart? Are there going to be wholesale opportunities? Absolutely. But you may find it's easier for you. If you're also selling on Amazon, you may find that it's easier to have a lot of the same sourcing methods and practices that you're currently doing, and just kind of earmarking part of your inventory that you source OA going over to Walmart, or you may be able to source and you find something, you go, okay, this is 25% ROI on Amazon, but it's currently 55% on Walmart. And then, maybe that includes, lower fees and whatnot. So you may just go through your normal OA sourcing and say, this is a great Walmart product, I'm going to send that over there. You may find stuff that's like, okay, that's not good on Walmart, I'll send this over to Amazon. So you may be able to just simply keep doing what you're doing from an OA perspective, and it simply becomes a question of where you route that inventory, right? Not saying that that's not also an opportunity on the wholesale side. You may source, product lists from wholesale people and distributors and brands and whatnot, and you could do the same thing. You got to go through their product list and go, this is great on Walmart, this is great on Amazon. So it's basically going to be a matter of setting up, becoming familiar with Walmart, what's good there, what isn't good there, what could be good. So I don't know that we can answer that question right now. I think a bit more education may make that answer a little more obvious, if that makes sense. probably not the definitive answer that you were looking for. I do apologize for that, but go into it with an open mind. I certainly wouldn't say no. I'm not going to do wholesale on Walmart. I'm only going to do OA. I think that's too restrictive at this point. Learn about it, find out what it's all about, and then the strategy will become clear. Charlie, I love Walmart. I worked in Orlando. Oh, nice. That's close to where Chris Grant's in. I worked in Orlando in the early 90s in my 20s. I had never been in a shop at 4 a.m. Yeah, Charlie, I admit I love Walmart too. I used to defend it, when everyone was down on Walmart years ago, when they were like they're killing small business, and then they'd say they're bad for commerce in general, and right, everybody was scared about Walmart, how they were opening up so many super centers, and they're pushing mom and pops out, and all this stuff. From the first time I walked into a Walmart, I was in awe of the shopping experience. And I think it's funny because what I loved about it was all the different stuff that you could get. You could get spark plugs and tires if you wanted to. You new wiper blades for your car. You could get a new plant for the shrubs outside for one of your beds. You do your landscaping. You could work on your car. You could get your groceries for your fridge and your cupboard. You could get everything you need for your bathroom upstairs. You could get a new set of sheets for your bed. You could get new curtains. you could literally anything. Like the first when Walmart was new to me, this is long time too. I'm going back to the 90s myself, so I feel that part of it. Sometimes I would just walk up and down every single aisle because I was amazed at just the breadth of the selection, and that's kind of Amazon. Their marketplace is the digital equivalent of that same feeling. That's the everything store that Amazon strives to be, and still strives to be, because they don't hate their third-party sellers. They still want to be the everything store. So sorry to if there's a segment of Arbitrage is Dead listening right now. We are not friends. We do not agree. So yeah. So Walmart, that's Walmart is simply going to try to recreate that retail shopping experience digitally, just like Amazon did. So it does bode well, because Walmart knows the power of a very, very large selection, and and how customers respond and how much they spend in that environment. So they're certainly not outmatched. Can non-U.S. residents register to sell on Walmart with an LLC? I believe the answer is yes to that. But I do remember on the webinar, I believe they said you do have to have a U.S.-based address. And I believe they brought that up in the part where they were talking about returns. So you might be able to get it done if you have some sort of, I don't know, like an agent or something like that. But I think at some point in time, you will need a U.S. address. Don't quote me on that, because again, I'm looking forward to the challenge, because I want to learn too. So I don't have all of the Walmart answers right now, but I do seem to remember that from the webinar on Thursday. Zale, I'm thinking of getting a wholesale account. However, the thought of Amazon being able to restrict me at any moment scares me due to ungating difficulty. Is this something I need to learn to live with? So the last part, is it something that you need to learn to live with? There's a lot of truth to that statement. And I've been selling for about 5 years, at least at this point. And when I first started, that was kind of the sentiment. That was kind of like the shadow in the corner. It was that you never know. Unexpected things could happen. It was more pronounced when I was just starting out because I was so excited, so it's like that kind of like made me pause a little bit. It's like, ooh, I don't like that. But then as I got experience, you do learn that if you do things the right way, if you keep good documentation, if you keep a solid, clean operation, you're reducing that risk. What ends up happening is the people who cry about it, and a lot of the people are like, oh, I got suspended and they didn't give me a reason why. It came out of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. And if you dig into it further, most of the time, a lot of these people who have these complaints they were doing something gray hat or something black hat, and they just don't want to admit it. And they've kind of justified it to themselves that, well, I did everything correctly. It's like, well, no, you were sourcing from Alibaba, and that's not permitted. You did something, chances are it's something against the terms of service somewhere along the line that they're, for the sake of a good story, leaving out that part. So, you do have to operate with a small level of Amazon has the right to pull the plug at any given time. But it's not so prevalent. It shouldn't be so prevalent in your mind that it actually hurts your own business operations. If you're doing everything correctly, you'll be fine. Whatever pops up, you may be thrown in, you may be grouped into something that Amazon, like the counterfeit fight that Amazon is going through right now. There was some collateral damage. People lost their accounts for periods of time because of automated verifications and whatnot, But if you understand the why and you have good documentation, some people probably had to employ a lawyer to help get this done. There is a little bit of collateral damage, but it's survivable in the vast majority of cases. So now, on the first part, as far as getting a wholesale account, the answer to that question kind of depends on what wholesale account you're getting. Are you, if you're talking to somebody, I would imagine, depending on who you're talking to, where you're setting up this wholesale account, it's certainly within the realm of possibilities, Zale, that you are able to get a letter of authorization from the brand, right? I mean, certain avenues, if you're exploring wholesale, that can certainly be done, which that takes a whole lot of the risk right off the top. It just removes it completely, right? So, and if you have a connection, if it ends up being a distributor or something like that, you'd want to explore those options when you're opening up your wholesale account. Say, what kind of authorization do I need, and talk to your wholesale account rep, whoever you end up dealing with, and find out what resources they have, because there's a lot of conversations that need to be had, I'm sure, depending on who you're talking to. You need to cover map pricing. Maybe that's what the issue is. If you're close enough to the brand, you may find out, are they on brand registry already? Do they plan on getting on the brand registry? Because I think a lot of the regatings are a result of brands finally figuring out that they can brand register. And that severely limits our ability to change listings and whatnot, and or adjust listings. If they're brand registered, you have to have permission from that brand to be authorized to change listings and whatnot. So, but depending on the wholesale connection that you have, I'd imagine your risk of being restricted is greatly reduced. Let's see. Zale, I have friends who tried ungating certain brands from well-known distributors with legitimate invoices, so just worried I would be in a similar situation. Okay, so this is a continuation of the first question. Yeah, the getting ungated, that landscape has changed, but it's not unheard of. The landscape has simply changed back to the way it was years ago. We're coming out of a period of time where it was too easy to get ungated. There are stories of people that were sending in pictures of their dog, sending in attachments of just blank documents, and they were basically getting rubber stamped. Amazon went through a period where they're like, "Yep, just it's got an attachment, approve it, send it through," and that came back to bite them, or at least they've made the determination that that wasn't a good policy, that they need to tighten it down. I attribute that to the counterfeit fight. I think when they were going through the Section 3 verifications through Q4 of last year, I believe they probably found a lot of counterfeit items, or they found sellers who had very poor supply chain documentation. And if they're trying to get counterfeits off of the marketplace, they're going to remove those sellers that, if you don't have a good supply chain documentation, that's number one. That's what we say when we talk about having good documentation. So if you don't, Amazon has rightfully so, they're going to question the legitimacy, the authenticity of your products. So a lot of sellers got removed because of that. And then imagine you get all that data from the Amazon perspective, and you're going to probably see patterns. There are probably going to be certain brands that are more likely to have counterfeit items on their catalog, for various reasons or whatever. And then so they're going to tighten the certain brands up. They'll lock down certain brands, and then they'll probably adjust their back of the house requirements. Say I need a seller with whatever. They probably have grades. I assume they have risk levels for the sellers that they went through on the back end that they don't share with us, and they'll open those up little by little, and it's up to us to prove to be a quality seller, a trustworthy seller, whether that be your account health score, your IPI score. There are metrics that they're grading us on. Get those up to where they need to be in the green range, whatever that may be, whatever score we're talking about, and more things will open up a little bit. But we're back to the period of time. I think it was Chris Grant that said in a comment, he said that he heard from somebody that finally got ungated in a brand on their 46th attempt. I'll say that again. 46th try, they got approved, right? So let's boil that down. That means they got 45 denials prior to, right? So the fact that we just need to keep trying, we're back into an environment where just keep trying over and over again. It's not, it's just a difficult system on Amazon's end, that requires a lot of tries over and over again. So, that's not necessarily Amazon tightening down. That's probably them rolling back whatever automation they had that wasn't working, or like I say, I kind of have an inkling that Amazon puts these things in place and it's basically a live beta test, and so they're kind of tweaking things as they go. So some stuff's going to take a heck of a lot of tries. So, yeah, I think, and me starting when I started, however many years ago, that's not unfamiliar to me. I just kind of go, oh, we're back to how it used to be. So, but there are a whole lot of sellers that arrived in the last couple of years who were under the impression, their first impression, which is powerful, of course, their first impression was that, it's pretty easy to get ungated. So they're sitting here in the current landscape going, what is going on? I mean, it's a shock to the system. I get it, but it's not insurmountable. All right. Can the prep center be my return address? You would need to talk to the prep center about that. Some prep centers will offer that service, and some won't want to go to the trouble. So that's very much case by case scenario that you would have to explore, but definitely an option. Maurice, what's your gut feeling? Will the Amazon gating continue, or have we seen the worst of it? Well, okay. Uh, If it continues, and there are scenarios where certain brands require 47 submissions, uh, if this is the worst and the worst of it continues and we don't get past it, my question is, can we get used to it? I did 5 years ago. I knew just fighting anything on account health. I went into it knowing to expect that I would probably have to resubmit double-digit attempts before this was taken care of. So if this is worst case scenario, how bad is it? Is it a matter of just kind of adjusting to the way things are? But to answer your question, Maurice, I don't think this is how it will be moving forward. I think Amazon wants to ultimately have an automated system that is accurate, that doesn't have as many complaints. I'm sure they're monitoring seller support, and they always have those polls, and I think they are paying attention to that, and they're kind of they ask the same questions over and over again, and I think that's designed to identify trends and changes in attitude from their selling partners. So I think they clean it up, but if they don't, I also don't think that's necessarily as bad as our knee-jerk reaction would be, if that makes sense. Charlie, if I was living in the US, it would be crazy not to sell on Walmart as well as Amazon. It's as crazy as selling just one brand. Don't keep all your eggs in one basket. Charlie, that is a great point. It's a fantastic point. That's essentially what we've been talking about for a very long time. It's the same sentiment that comes up when we have people coming in saying, "Hey, I just got 80% of my catalog went stranded. What can I do?" And then you dig into the details, and the seller who has 80% of their catalog stranded, it's 100% of that 80% is Nike, right? They had 80% of their catalog was concentrated just because they're only going to Nike outlets. These diversification, the value and the importance of diversification, you shouldn't have to learn it so painfully, right? It's something that we should just know. We need to get to the point where that is second nature. Reduce your platform risk. If Amazon changes something and something goes haywire, a source of income, Walmart, have that going. These are all legs. Think of like a foundation, or like a table. Each of the legs supports, and the weight is distributed if you have more legs on the table, right? That's what it's all about. It's on platform, if sell on Amazon, sell on Walmart, have an eBay account to get rid of your death pile, and those marketplaces that are available to you become sources of income, right? So now you have 3 separate sources of income. And I don't know about you, but 3 sources of income are way better than 1, right? And then think about the risk of if one of those sources were to get pinched off, how much that would hurt and how much you can mitigate that pain by having multiple. So yeah, Charlie, that's spot on, man. As soon as there's next day delivery alternative in the UK, I'll be on it like a car bonnet. I love it. Yeah, Charlie, I mean, sounds like you got the perfect mindset, and that's you're looking at things in a very intelligent way from my perspective. Chris, what do you think some effective strategies are for scaling an arbitrage business into the intermediate stage of their business, say past 10,000 or 15,000 a month? And then, in other words, what needs to change from the beginner hustle stage? Boy, that's a question that we've pondered. Intermediate seller is near and dear to my heart. because I think there's a gap that's kind of a wasteland, right? Because you can find beginner courses all over the place. Learn to sell on Walmart and learn to sell on Amazon. Make your first $5,000, blah, blah, blah. You can find that stuff everywhere, dime a dozen at this point. You can find high-end programs. If you want to spend a whole bunch of money, you can find a very serious mastermind where you can jump on a call on a regular basis with other $1 million sellers, and kind of coordinate that. I think there's a lot missing for that intermediate seller. There's not a lot of support. That kind of just they get you started. You can find a course to begin, and then basically everybody kind of backs off and gets back in their rented Lamborghini and says, "Call me back when you hit $1 million." And then they'll continue the education from there. So the big question: what are strategies for scaling an arbitrage business to get past the $10,000 to $15,000 mark? Number one is your attitude, right? If you're at 10,000 or under, I think a very big portion of the people in that sales range are still looking at this as a side hustle, or they're still painting by numbers. They're still kind of taking their beginner course, and they're basically putting together IKEA furniture, right? They're putting slot A into tab B, and now I do this, now I do this. So to get past that beginner stage, you need to start thinking like a business owner, because that's exactly what you are. It's not a side hustle. You are a CEO of a company. Add up your sales. Even if you're doing only 10,000 as a beginner, that's $120,000 a year if you project that out. So you are the CEO of a company that has revenue of $120,000, a six-figure business, and that requires a little bit more of a serious mindset, right? So you need to really you need to analyze. You need to get comfortable. Number one, you need to become proficient in all the beginner stuff that you learned. Everything that you learned that took you to $10,000 a month, you now need to become proficient. Do it enough where you can do it with your eyes closed, essentially, right? And then think like a business owner, and you need to make sure you understand why you are doing all of those things. You're not doing it because Lamborghini Joe said, "This is what I do now, and then my next step is he said to do this." You need to understand why you do it, right? Like, I'm doing this because I need inventory, or I'm going to source for 4 hours every Monday because I want inventory on its way for my next prep day, which is whenever, but so you have your sourcing sessions, and then you need to figure out, if I want to sell this, I need to source roughly this number. Say if I'm at 10,000 now, I want to double that. I want to get to 20,000. Well, you need to look at it and you say, okay, selling 10,000 a month, I need to buy about $5,000 in inventory. So connect that dot and say, if I want to sell 20,000, I need to buy $10,000 in inventory. Make sure, assess your capital resources. Where is that 10,000 going to come from? Where's next month's 10,000 going to come from? Or if you're scaling up, where's the 11 or 12,000 for next month going to come from? Right? Because I'm not going to have the 20,000. I'm not going to have all of that 20,000 back from this month, from the 10,000 that I spent. What resources do I have? Do I need to set something else up? Do I need another 0% credit card ready? Do I want to get a business line of credit through the Small Business Association, which is a real thing? It's easier than you realize. Or are you going on cash, or do you need to adjust your payouts? Am I able to get payouts from Amazon quicker? Is it a matter of setting more of my inventory to merchant fulfilled because I'm going to get that a lot faster? Is that what's going to get me to 20,000 a month faster? Is that what's going to get me to 22,000 the month after that? And then think of your processes. When are you doing all this stuff? When are you sourcing? You can't just kind of go by feel anymore. It's just because you kind of, when it's a side hustle, you're like, oh, hey, because you usually have a full-time job, and if you have a family or something, you've got a lot of responsibilities, a lot of claims on your time. So your windows are probably smaller, whether it be your life that causes that window to be small, or the fact that you're just starting out. But basically, you either need to get more out of that small window if that's the most that you've got, or you need to expand that window if you're really making a go at this and you want this to be full time. What strategies? How much inventory can you source per hour on average? What are you doing right now? And then what can you do to improve that? Is it a matter of some more education? Is it the matter of another tool? Is it a matter of mindset? Are you not putting your phone on do not disturb? Do you find yourself in a sourcing session looking at your phone and you've got Facebook open and you've had it open for 15 minutes when you're supposed to be sourcing? You probably need to take it a little more seriously, or just realize that you're going to stay at the $10,000 mark. That's not about covers it, right? Obviously there's more, but I think it's mindset. Be a business owner. Don't be a side hustler if you want to take this seriously. And tune into shows like this and fire off your questions. Listen to our podcast. Listen to Clear the Shelf with Chris and Chris. That's a big component. But seriously, I say that as a joke, but we do have a lot of mindset stuff. We walk you through how to build $1 million business, which I'm not tooting my own horn. That's one of the non-interview shows that we get compliments the most on. People really seem to like that. So check that out. Charlie, what do we got here? Took me 32 times, reapply and reply to get the ungated on L'Oreal. Good deal. I cannot sell L'Oreal myself. I want to say it's red restricted for me. So that's pretty impressive, Charlie. But yeah, that's, and ask yourself, how many other sellers would have stopped at 5? Say, man, I guess it's just not in the cards for me to sell L'Oreal on Amazon. One of my favorite quotes, I can't take credit, but I say it a lot. They say the extra mile is never crowded. There's a whole lot of sellers try 5 times, but then as that number climbs, the number of sellers who are still trying, that number gets lower. So all right. So we got I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go a full hour. It was a little slow there, but we made it a full hour. So we'll do last call for questions. I will give you guys a little bit more time to type by sharing this link. I'll put that one more time. That is the link to the Walmart challenge. If you know the value of diversification, if you understand how important mitigating risk is, if you like the idea of another source of income, you can. Oh, no, did I? Wait. Oh, I wasn't. There are more comments. Hey, I'm sorry. I was stuck on, I was like scrolled. I thought I was at the end and I was like, nothing new's coming in. All right. So that's a question for Charlie. Karen, this was a great Mother's Day present. Appreciate all your valuable support and education. Karen, it is my pleasure. And happy Mother's Day to you. I hope it's been a great day. Well, I hope the first half of it is great and the second half follows up and is even better. Thanks for sharing some of your day with me on the show. Yeah, many products are hard gated in the US. And that's the same scenario with Amazon to Walmart. There's a lot of stuff people are hard gated on Amazon that they can actually sell on Walmart. That's the example of friend of the show, Luke. He sold $2,000 worth of stuff that he would have had to move probably at a steep discount on like eBay or something like that, because he bought it. He was approved at the time. And then when he went to send it in, he got regated in this weird environment that we're in with Amazon gatings. And that's a big blow. That's a lot of people come in here with questions like, I was gated. What am I supposed to do? And if you have something like Walmart or a situation like this, if you have an avenue that you can sell it, Walmart is probably going to bring back more capital because you'll be able to sell it for, closer to a regular retail price or closer to the price that you were going to sell it on Amazon, versus having to take a haircut on eBay, because most of the time that's got to be moved at a lower price. Not all the time. Sometimes there's some gems where it's like, oh my God, can't believe this sells for this amount. But most of the time, you got to take a little bit of a haircut on eBay. So, yeah. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you got something out of it. My imposter syndrome keeps me from thinking I'm helping too much. All right, so you see the comment. I posted the link again for the Walmart challenge. If you're watching this on the replay, if you're not watching it on Mother's Day in the U.S. on Sunday, you might be too late. But if you catch this later today, midnight tonight, doors close. The course starts tomorrow. We start learning how to sell on Walmart starting tomorrow. So make sure if you're susceptible to regret, don't be kicking yourself, and don't say I didn't warn you, right? Because we're broadcasting it over and over again. Usually the ad spot's only in the beginning of the show. I'm actually revisiting it because I'll tell you what, being in the first go round of the OA challenge continues to be a massive benefit to me. So I took action and I've never regretted it for a second. So I don't miss Chris Grant courses for the first time. I don't miss any of them anymore at all, even if I've taken it before. So, all right, let me make sure I've scrolled to the bottom. Looks like I've got the comments. I've got the questions covered. If you take action, I will see you in the Walmart challenge tomorrow. I will be there. If you're not, if you are or aren't, regardless of whether you're there Monday, show up on Wednesday at 5:30 Eastern. We will do this all over again, but I will have my better half of the show. Chris Grant will be back, and we will have more news. We'll take more questions. His answers are even better than mine, so don't miss that. Look for a new podcast episode probably this week. I think we've got 3 in the can. Just post-production, getting ready, polishing it up, getting the thumbnails all pretty to get as many clicks as possible, and those will be out. We got Jeff Storch is coming, Grant Douglas is coming, and there's a third one too. So yeah, good stuff on the podcast. Watch out for those. Tomorrow night, I'm doing the live sourcing in the FBA Today Facebook group. I go about an hour and a half, and I share my screen and I just source. So and I basically think out loud. I tell you why I'm going to dig in further to something. I'll tell you why I'm bailing on something, why I don't like stuff. You can just basically watch me source, ask me questions as we go. I do that every Monday. That's 9:00 Eastern. So if you're doing the Walmart challenge and then the sourcing session, it's going to be a long night for us. But that's all right. Prefer it that way, right? So yeah, there's no reason that I shouldn't see you soon, right? So that's the show. I'm out. Have a good one.